I just want to thank you very much for coming here today in honor of our special guest recipient, Mr. Stephen Jones, who's coming to receive his award. It's running a little late, but this day and time where there's so many troubles going on with the airlines, we always have to, kind of be forgiving and look out for those times. I remember when I was going to Washington D.C. to perform at the Smithsonian. On the way in, they were checking my carry-on baggage because I had my gear, my regalia inside my case. I was just carrying it on because I was going to be there for that one performance. And a guy was going through it. He said, "Sir, I need you to take off your hat," because I had a hat like this and had feathers and stuff on it. And he said, "I need you to take off your hat." So I gave it to him. And he looked at it, and then he looked through my stuff, and there was a breastplate in there, and he said, "What's this?" I said, "It's a bone breastplate." He said, "On the X-ray, it looked like bullets, like in a bandolier." I said, "Sir, Indians can't be terrorists." He said, "Why?" I said, "You have to be on time with the bomb. You can't be late." Anyway, that's so. Like I said, you just have to. Everybody. Has to be patient with everyone. I'm sure our guest of honor will be here, and it's such a great honor to be here on behalf of the Festival of Words, the Native American collection here at the library. We have so many wonderful board members that sit on that. So glad to have them all here, and so many dignitaries, Indian princesses that are here. I'm just so glad that we have so many beautiful Indian princes here. I was talking to one Indian princess one time. She said, "I don't see myself as a princess." She said, "I see myself as a queen." I said, "Are you the powwow queen, young and mean, only 17? Bling, bling. So that's. I'm so glad to have you all here today. So I've been asked to tell a story. And this is a story that I got from my Seminole cousins down in the Florida Everglades. They live in a little place called Emogali. That's the way we say it in our native language, Emogali. It means this little place of mine. Can you guys say that? This little place of mine. Everybody, this little place of mine. All right. So that's what that word means. So whenever you're looking on the map, it says Immokalee, Florida. That's where that word comes from, Emogali. Because Seminole Creek, the language is very similar. So, and there was always wonderful folk tales and legends. And this one was a story of a creature known in the old language, the Hijini language, way, way back there, a creature by the name of the Chukfi Holaje. For those of you who do not know what the Chukfi Holaje is, I want you to take your hands like this. Everybody take your hands like this. Put them on top of your head like this. Look at your neighbor and stick out your teeth and go, and the Chukfi Holaje is a rabbit. That's an old word for the trickster rabbit. And he lived, they say, deep in the Florida Everglades. There the people lived in little thatch roof huts. We say chugo here in Muskogean land. It means a house, whereas our Seminole cousins, since they still have that same derivative of the language, they say chigi. So everybody say chigi. So there was a little chigi, and what had happened, they said there was a monster that lived at that time. Now, old-timers say that at one time there were these prehistoric creatures. Nowadays, they have different names. They're ghost animals like Nagasoma, Istajupko, the tall man, and, of course, the great ghost bear. And these were ghost creatures that lived a long time ago. And this is a story of one of those kind of creatures, known as the Yate Pache. Now, the Yate Pache, it kind of means, in the old language, it meant like a panther, but not a panther. It was like a monster panther. Now, this panther wasn't like the beautiful panthers you see in Florida Everglades, these beautiful golden big cats that live out. This was a monster. They say it was probably taller than a horse, had a head about this size, had kind of one of them Tommy Lee Jones heads, big scary head. And And they say he had paws about the size of a frying pan with razor sharp claws. And he was a jet black with these great big golden eyes. And he was terrifying. When he growled and roared, they say that the palm trees out there in the Everglades swayed. And everything would sway like that, you know. He was so terrifying that finally all the animals and the people got together and they started to have a meeting. Because in those days, they say we were so close to nature. Nowadays, we forgot about that. You know, today, you know, there are some animals that still have a kinship to kind of remember that. How many of y'all have dogs at home? Do you ever notice sometimes when you're talking out loud and you're talking to your dog, you know, you might not really be talking to him, but just talking out loud. Sometimes that dog will look at you and go like this. And that's because they still remember a little bit of that memory. And of course, cats, they don't listen to anybody. And but they have their own language too. For instance, how many of you have cats at home? And if you ever want to tell your cat you love him or love your little cat, all you have to do is look him in the eye and do this. That says I love you. And how you can tell they're happy is their tail will curl at the top. It'll go straight up and that means they're happy. Now, if you give them sardines or a salmon, it'll get into like a big question mark. So that means he's really happy. And one thing I was always told that dogs are like babies, you know, or dogs, they prepare you for babies, and cats prepare you for teenagers. So now, in this story, this Yatepachi was a monster who was terrorizing the Everglades, frightening and terrifying. So all the animals got together and they said, "We need a hero." You guys say that. We need a hero. So they called upon their greatest of all war heroes, a true champion of the people and animals. His name was the Jukfiholaje, the tricky rabbit. He was able to outwit and outthink any creature in the swamp. As a matter of fact, he had a little song that went like this. This is the story of Jukfiholaje. He was a rabbit with lots of moxie. He was the trickiest, quickiest bunny around. He had 2 long ears and a coat of brown. Hidey, 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 hi. You guys say that. Hody, 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 ho. Hody, 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 ho. Heedy, 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 he. Now let's pick up the speed. Here we go. Hody, 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 ho. Now look at your neighbor and go, scoodly boo, scoodly boo, scoodly boo, boo, boo. So now they said, we need for you to send for your mightiest of all war heroes. We need for you to send for the Jukfiholaje. Everyone say, send for the Jukfiholaje. Send for the Jukfiholaje. Now the Jukfiholaje, the tricky rabbit, they asked the chief of all rabbits. They said, Rabbit Chief, we want you to go find your greatest war hero and bring him in here to help defeat this Yatepachi. And off he went looking for the Yatepachi. And of course, the other people lived in little thatch roof huts known as the Chigi. In a little place called Imugali, means this little place of mine. And there the people lived in those little thatch roof huts known as Chigis. Everybody make a Chigi like this. There we go. And the Chigi was out there floating around on the top. And there was a rabbit. He was dancing around outside his little hut going, at the Chiki Cabana, Imogali north of Havana, yeah, at the Chiki Cabana, singing, stop dancing is all quite enchanting at the Chiki Cabana. Well, now, the rabbit chief came over and said, Chihansamo, Jukfiholaje. He said, oh, hello, rabbit chief, what brings you my way? He said, the Yatepachi is getting out of hand. He's gobbling everyone up. We're afraid that if nothing's done about him, there won't be anyone left. We need you to get rid of him. But now we don't want you to hurt him. He's only doing what Yatepachis do. We just want you to take him far from here. Can you do it? And the Yatepachi, said the Jukfiholaje, goes, yeah, I can do it, but it's going to cost you. And the rabbit said, cost? How much? He said, well, I'm thinking about 24 carats. He said, 24 carats? Well, that's quite a bit. I'll have to take it to committee. We'll have to write a PO. We'll have to talk. Oh, all right. So they shook paws on it. And so now the rabbit chief went back to tell all the animals and the people that the Jukfiholaji was on the case. And so the Jukfiholaji traveled down into the Everglades till he came to the Florida Peninsula, where old timers say that one time there were great big islands that floated off the mainland, only connected to the mainland by ropes of roots and vines. And so there the rabbit looked at those great big islands floating around, and he said, that's amazing. You mean this huge island just has this one little thread? He goes, he said, I tell you what. He said, I'll get that taken care of. And so all of a sudden, while he was taking care of it, the great big panther showed up and they got into a great big battle. And of course, the rabbit, just as the panther took a great big swipe, he leaped right over the top to the floating island. And there, the rabbit turned around. He missed his tail by shaving it off by just a little bit. Well, now, he just about swung and had almost cut it off. He goes, hey, you almost got my bahookie. Well, now, he turned around, and they traded places by jumping back. And at that last second, the rabbit cut that tie, and that great big island floated away with that great big panther on it. To this very day, old-timers will say, if you ever look up at the nighttime sky, you will see a great big shower of stars. Comets. They say, that is the Yase Pache. He's always trying to find his way home to get back to the earth. And that is the panther crossing the sky. Mado! ISG. Thank you.
So if we could have, let's go ahead and bring up our princesses, our royalty. And let's just have our royalty give who they are, their tribe, the organization they represent, and just a little background information about them as we're still just waiting on our honoree to arrive. So royalty, if you could come up, and we'll just have you come up to the center stage here. And again, if you could just give us your name, your tribe, the organization, and just a little bit about yourself. And feel free if you have, if you can do it in your tribal language. Like Junior said, the language is our future, the heartbeat, just like these songs that our singers will sing here soon. So again, ladies, let's give our royalty another big round of applause for being here. A good Kodak moment here. So take it away.
Hisje, Stongo, Tima Yarji, Georgia Phils, Bali Hakolin, Hamgindilagin, Amajogados, Ilegida, Ijogidos. Hello, how are you? My name is Tima Yarji. I'm your 2022-2023 Miss Muscogee Creek Nation. I'm 21 years old and I'm from the Deer Clan.
Hisje, Stongo, Shano, Barnett, Jifkados, what Gogi am a Legados, Balanchinabogagan, Amajogados, Monozoma, Mikosopka Jogo Aidos, Amidoa Niakaos, Mado. Hello, how are you all? My name is Shano Barnett. I'm the 2022-2023 Junior Miss Muscogee Creek Nation. I come from the Raccoon Clan and I'm 18 years old. I attend Montezuma Baptist Church and my tribal town is Niaga. Mado, thank you.
Hi, my name is Janetta Martinez. I'm the 2021-2022 Skytook JLM Princess. I attend Newman Middle School in Skytook, Oklahoma, and I'm 14 years old.
Baha Ipaho Wakia, Jaje Wiata, Mitsuke Umbria. Hooray, everyone. My name is Leah Easley. I'm Osage, Ponke, and Sioux. My Osage name is Mitsuke, meaning oldest daughter in Bear Clan. I am 20 years old. I go to the University of Central Oklahoma, where I'm a sophomore, majoring in Sociology Human Services. I am the 2022-2023 Tulsa Power Princess. I'm happy to be here and happy to see all of you all here today. Thank you.
And we'll just do a little short interview session here with each of the girls here. Tell us your most exciting, memorable moment as princess of your organization. No pressure. Any travel, any powwow, any gathering, any event. Anything that stands out?
Okay. Mine is probably the most recent one. I went out to Florida to go to the Seminole powwow, and I got to meet the past Miss Indian World, and so that's probably mine.
Okay.
Mine probably is when I went to New Mexico and I went to Gathering of Nations, or the time I got crowned.
So I have traveled a lot this past year, but my most memorable event was probably our Creek Fest down in Okmulgee. And this little girl came up to me and she was just so excited to meet me as junior miss and everything. And it just took me back to when I was about her age and I seen all the junior miss and Miss Muskogee nations. Thank you.
My most memorable moment would have to be when we went to the Okmulgee Mountains in Georgia, because I've never been, and it was a great experience to go back and see the homelands from where we came from. Mado.
Stay up here, girls. Beautiful. Now, and then again, this is not a competition. We're just letting you know. There's no Miss American Indian Resource Center princess here. Role model. Who's your role model or role models, and why, and what they mean to you?
My role model would have to be Wilma Mankiller, because I really respect and I really admire how she showed dedication to her people by providing services, and also I just think she's a very respectable woman.
So I actually have two role models, my grandmother, Rachel Barnett, and my other grandmother, Sally Goodvoice. They're both passed away now, but, I still try to carry what they taught me, all the teachings, my hair teachings, how to be a Muskogee woman. So I just really look up to them, even though they're no longer here. I still, walk in that way that they taught me. Mado.
My role models would probably be my Unchi, my mom, and my older cousin, Mila. Just because Mila carries herself so well and she teaches me so much, and she's just a great role model. And my mom, she really inspires me and makes sure I'm good all the time, and just a really great mom overall. And my Unchi, she just really taught me a lot, and I'm glad that they're all in my life.
Mine would probably be my grandmother. She is the person who makes the majority of our clothes, and she has all the knowledge for us, like if we need to know anything about our tribe or anything like that.
And just one more question, girls. Thank you for being here with us today. March is Women's History Month, right, Kim? I believe March is Women's History Month. And you all are excellent role models, not only for your tribe, for your family, but for the younger generation. So give us an idea, a statement, anything that comes to mind on empowering young Native American women or women as a whole, and your thoughts on what having this crown that you wear, how will that impact you moving forward as a Native American woman and as a leader for our people and for your tribe? Okay.
Having this crown, there's a bunch of younger girls that look up to you, and they want to be a princess as well. And so this just helps me be a leader, which I already feel like I was a leader with or without the crown. So with this crown, I just feel like younger girls, they see me more. And so after this crown, I'm still going to be there for the younger girls to look up to. And so they know that I'm there for them as well.
With this crown, it makes me feel extremely honored, especially since in my town, we don't really have anyone else that represents our culture, and I have to be princess twice. So I just feel really honored, and I'm glad that they chose me, and I hope to be an excellent role model for the younger girls, and hopefully the other people that are going to be princess after me.
So as she said, it is a huge honor to wear this crown and to represent my nation and the young girls, the young Muskogee girls that I'm around majority of the time. So as I've said before, I was one of those young girls looking up to the princesses and remembering and talking to them and asking them questions. And so now that I'm the person who gets to answer those questions, it's just something, that could only happen in my wildest dreams. So to be able to have that opportunity is just something I'll carry with me forever. And I hope to help the young ones who are looking up to me now with, hopefully making their dreams come true. Mado.
With our titles, we have to be role models to the young girls and also to our Native children and the younger generation. And so I want to encourage the young girls that when I was born, I had a birth injury called Earth palsy. And so throughout my life, I had to go to physical therapy, and I've had 3 major surgeries on my right arm. And so even though I had to go through some obstacles and I had to show perseverance, I want to encourage everyone that just to keep going and to never give up, and just that we as Native women, we as Muskogee women were matrilineal, so our clans go through the women, and so we have a great responsibility to keep our traditions and our culture. And I just want to encourage the matriarchs in the future that just to be strong. Mado.
All right. All right, girls, if you could just come up here and let's another Kodak moment, just step up here to the front of the stage, give us a wave, and if anybody wants to take pictures here and now's a great time. Wonderful representatives of our Native people. Going to ask our singers to make their way up to the drum and your chairs as we get ready to begin our program. Our honoree made it. Safe travels. We're glad that you're here. Let's give him a round of applause. We know that travel is what it is, and we're just, Stephen, we're glad that you made it safe and sound. And again, to our audience members, to our guests, to our families that are here, to Tulsa City County Library, to the volunteers, again, thank you for being here. And just at this time, we want to go ahead and begin and welcome everybody to this year's 2023 American Indian Festival of Words, where we are honoring the 2023 American Indian Writers Award, honoring this year's honoree, Mr. Stephen Graham Jones, here at the Hardesty Regional Library, Connors Cove, on this beautiful Saturday, the first Saturday of March 4th, 2023. And let's just give everybody one more round of applause. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking part out of your Saturday schedule to come and be here with us today. My name is Mark Wilson, and I'm honored to be part of the American Indian Resource Center Advisory Committee, and I'm a member of the Cherokee Nation. And it's been a beautiful day so far. This first Saturday, we had a nice breakfast earlier this morning, and it just filled our heart and our bellies. But it was just good to see people fellowshipping, seeing people out, conversing. We all know that the last couple of years haven't been easy with the pandemic. And so it was just wonderful together, to be able together and to break bread and to hug or to shake hands. And just that little simple act of just coming together, being together, it means so much to our Indian people. So those of you that made it out to the breakfast, we say thank you. And we are ready to begin our program. I'd like to bring up at this time Miss Larissa McNeil. She is the African American Resource Center Coordinator, and she will read the Tulsa City County Library's land acknowledgement.
The land on which we stand is the present-day home of the Muskogee, Cherokee, and Osage nations. We give honor and respect to the tribes that occupied this land before them. We honor the 39 sovereign nations that share geography with Oklahoma, as well as all Native people that call this land home. We encourage you to learn about Native history, culture, and contributions from a tribal perspective. Thank you.
We're so glad to have the Muskogee Nation Honor Guard here with us today. And we're just going to give our singers just a moment here together to come forward as we want to give the due to these beautiful flags that are being brought onto the stage this morning. And we mentioned earlier at the breakfast how we were so honored and pleased to have our veterans here with us today. And as Native people, we honor our veterans each and every day, not just in November. The sacrifice that they make to serve and protect our liberties, our freedom, and also the sacrifices that their family members make. Their moms and dads, their grandparents, their aunts and uncles, their siblings, their own children. And it doesn't go without saying that they are, our veterans are highly thought of amongst our people. And I shared a story earlier this morning about my oldest brother, who is a member who served in Vietnam. And our mother, Lucille, 93-year-old mother, Lucille, still alive and is a member of our War Mothers Society. And I know that these gentlemen, they can look back and their time spent serving and protecting is of a great importance. And they are here, they're survivors, they're wonderful gentlemen, and they do an outstanding job representing the Muskogee Nation Color Guard. So let's give the Muskogee Nation Honor Guard another big round of applause. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and ask our singers to get ready. Friends and family, we're going to go ahead and ask you to stand if you're able to stand.
Look at this honor guard. Go!
And gentlemen, if you could remove any head cover. And singers, we're going to come to you at this time as you render a song to bring our colors in.
Hard.
Would you please join me as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Friends and relatives, we're going to ask you to remain standing as we go back to our singers for a flag song.
Colors, post. Right, set, pull. Order, pull. Step, hey. Forward, pull. Pull. This way.
Friends, while we are still standing, let's give the color guard from the Muskogee Nation one more round of applause. And one more time, friends, remain standing as we bring our royalty back as they render the Lord's Prayer in sign language.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
How about a big round of applause? Hang on, Rachel. This is Rachel Adams Tucker. She gave that beautiful rendition of the Lord's Prayer. They were sign language by our princesses, as well as Miss Harriet Hinman. One more round of applause, please. Thank you, Rachel. Beautiful. We are here, we are gathered, and we are ready to celebrate. Again, I also want to acknowledge all the Tulsa City County Library staff for your participation, for your involvement, for making today possible. And Larissa, thank you for reading the land acknowledgement. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate you so much. Now it's a pleasure of mine to introduce the Tulsa City County Library, the CEO, Ms. Johnson. And as she makes her way up here to the podium, we're just so proud of Kim and her staff. We acknowledged earlier during the breakfast 5-star rating, and I'm sure you might mention or go into more detail about that, but Tulsa City County Library received a 5-star rating recently. Kim and her husband Earl and my wife Al and I, we've known each other for, probably close to 25, 30 years. And Kim and Earl are very involved in the city of Tulsa. They contribute greatly to our community, not only within the Tulsa City County Library system, but their efforts are felt across our great city and across the greater Tulsa area. So without further ado, a big round of applause for the Tulsa City County Library's CEO, our very own Miss Kim Johnson. Thanks, Kim. It's so good to see you.
Thank you so much. I want to first start off before I provide the welcome is just to say how awesome Mark is. You know, you never know what's going to happen outside of your control, but it's how you handle it. And Mark has been a wonderful MC, keeping the program moving along. So let's give him a round of applause, please. Thank you. And so good morning and welcome to the Festival of Words Awards Ceremony and welcome to Hardesty Library. I'm Kim Johnson, the CEO of the Tulsa City County Library, and I want to extend a special welcome to the dignitaries in the room. I know Mark will recognize you more formally in a few moments, but I also want to congratulate Stephen Graham Jones on receiving the Writers Award, and I know I'm happy that you made it here safely, and we look forward to hearing from you a little bit later on in the program. So this event and this award has been presented every other year since 2001. And through our American Indian Resource Center. And we are so proud of the center as it is also a nationally known center for its programs like the one today, and other programs that really elevate and celebrate American Indian heritage and history. We are equally proud of the visionary, the force, and the leadership of Teresa Reynolds, the coordinator of the American Indian Resource Center. Can we give Teresa a huge round of applause? Where is she? Is she here? Oh, there she is. Thank you so much, Teresa. She is phenomenal. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge our sponsors. If you look in your program, they're listed in the very back. They have been supporters of this program and this award for so many years, many of them. They are the Maxine and Jack Zarrow Family Foundation, the Tulsa Library Trust, Visions and Voices, and the Southwest Trading Company. And before I close, I also want to thank each of you, because as Mark mentioned, it's your support of TCCL that helped us achieve the 5-star national rating. Let me tell you a little bit about it. This is the highest public library service award that any library can achieve. The rating is based solely on library usage. Out of over 5,000 public libraries in the country, the Tulsa City County Library ranked 5th in the nation. Wow, right? And so I thank you for for every one of you who've ever attended a program and attending this one, who's checked out a book or any materials, who's logged into a computer, who has logged into our catalog, all of that activity really propelled us to that 5-star status. And I thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And please enjoy the program today. And I'll turn it back over to Mark.
Let's give, please, Ms. Johnson one more big round of applause. We know that her schedule as CEO is very demanding and very busy, but she has always made time to be here and be present for this program. So, Kim, thank you so much. Without volunteers make up today, like Kim mentioned. So if we could have, if you volunteered for this program, if you're on staff here, if you're an advisory committee member, would you please stand at this time and let us recognize you with a round of applause? All right. Thank you all so very much. And one more time, and ladies, thank you for filling in the gap for us. You didn't miss a beat. Just you wearing that title, you wear it proudly. Your banners, we couldn't be more proud and more grateful that you were here with us today. So if we could just have our princesses stand one more time and let's acknowledge them, please, friends and family. We're here today, friends, to honor an outstanding author, writer, friend, and a little bit about this Festival of Words, about the award. It was inaugurated in 2001. The American Indian Festival of Word Writers Award recognizes written contributions of outstanding American Indian authors, poets, journalists, film, and stage scriptwriters. It is the first and only award given by a public library to honor an American Indian writer. We need a round of applause for that. The first and only award given by a public library to honor one of our very own. This award is given in odd number years. The recipients receive a $10,000 cash prize, which is sponsored by the Maxine and Jack Zero Family Foundation. We have a list of outstanding previous winners. They include Tommy Orange, Laura Tohei, Tim Tingle, Joseph Brusiak, Sterling Harjo, Leanne Howe, Carter Rivard, Leslie Marmon Silko, Vine Deloria Jr., and Miss Joy Harjo. And now I'd like to bring up our good friend, Mr. Matt Roberts, who is on the American Indian Resource Center Counselor Writers Award Committee. Mr. Roberts.
Good morning. What an honor and privilege to be here. A special day for Tulsa, the Tulsa City County Library. A special day for our Native nations, our culture, our heritage, education. These young people here, these Pawnee Black Bears from Pawnee Public Schools that come in, they were here at the city of Tulsa in October, Native American Day. And students, I don't know if you all realize this, but when I read our special guest bio, that last performance you just get of Thriller is very appropriate and apropos for this our special guest and honoree for his line of work and his talents. And I'm getting ready to tell you about this right now. But an honor to be selected and work on the selection committee and with the advisory board and Teresa Runnels, the great things that she has done here with the Tulsa City County Libraries for our American Indian Resource Collection. What a privilege to have this opportunity here and we talk about the love of our culture, the language that Junior talked about, reading and education, and you can see it here with our young people, and not just the ones from Pawnee, but we have other young students here as well. And so it is an honor and privilege to introduce and read the bio of our special guest today, Dr. Stephen Graham Jones, member of the Blackfeet Nation, and he is this year's recipient of the American Indian Writers Award. As the author of nearly 30 novels and story collections, Dr. Jones is a New York Times best-selling author, and distinguished educator. He has many works that most recently include Mapping the Interior, My Hero, Mongrels, The Night Cyclist, The Fictions of Stephen Graham Jones, A Critical Companion, and The Faster, Redder Road, The Best Un-American Stories of Stephen Graham. Dr. Jones has been a fellow of the National Endowment of the Arts and the Texas Writers League. He has received many awards for his work that include the Los Angeles Times Ray Bradbury Prize, the Texas Institute of Letters Award for Fiction, the Independent Publishers Multicultural Award, the Western Literature Association's Distinguished Achievement Award, the Bram Stoker Award, 5 This Is Horror Awards, and many more. In addition to writing fiction, his areas of literary interest include science fiction, horror, fantasy film, comic books, pulp culture, and American Indian studies. He received his undergraduate degree in in English and philosophy from Texas Tech University, his master's in English degree from the University of North Texas, and his PhD from Florida State University. Today, he is the Ineva Baldwin Professor of English and a Professor of Distinction at the University of Colorado at Boulder. And here momentarily, the selection committee and the advisory committee will be coming on. But please join me in welcoming the 2023 American Indian Writers Award recipient, Dr. Stephen Graham Jones.
Hank, we'll have you go ahead and begin with the presentation of the blanket. Brittany, the award. Stella with the check. Junior, if we could have you join the singers at the drum. Committee members, if we could just make a little semicircle around our honoree here. Step forward a little bit. Friends and family, if you would please stand as our singers render the honor song. Another round of applause for our honorees. Ladies and gentlemen, family, you may be seated. And again, just a little bit about that song. It was composed by our very own Mr. Junior Pratt, and he plays that song on the drum. And let's give our singers here a big round of applause. They are the keepers of our songs, their tradition, their knowledge. the heartbeat that drum represents. So again, brothers, Bobby, thank you all for being here and honoring us, all of us, and especially this year's honoree. So without further ado, Dr. Stephen Graham Jones. Another round of applause, please.
Welcome. Congratulations.
Thank y'all for being here for this. Hey, can I have a walk around microphone? Can I use one of those? Cool. It gets me far from my Whataburger, but I can find it. It's right there. But I would have been here like 6 minutes earlier, but I had to. We don't have Whataburgers in Montana. That's where I'm living right now, and I had to stop and get a taquito. Or two taquitos actually, but it's on my pants too. So that's the way it goes. Man, listening to that list of other award winners, Silco, couple of Harjos, Tingle.
Is there someone named Jacob in here?
Jacob. Man, listen to that other list of past winners. I was like, why did they pick me? Because I don't think I'm in the class with all those people. But it's an amazing honor to be here speaking with y'all. And I'm not the headliner. I don't feel like I'm the headliner here. We've had princesses and zombies up here. We've had, and I'm just a warm-up act at best, And I'm supposed to talk about my writing, my books, and I never know what to say about my stuff. So I think I'll just lead you through, I don't know, a few milestones, or where I found writing, how I came to it, how I became a writer, some of that stuff. And honestly, I don't know if it adds up to now I'm a writer, or if it adds up to now I'm a teacher, But I think those are related somehow too, for me anyways. So first novel I ever read, some of y'all will know it. I was in 4th grade, and we all had to read a novel for some big project. It took me 3 checkout periods to read this novel because I'm very easily distracted. And I distinctly remember, though, closing that book. When I finally finished it, sitting in the school library, it was Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls. Some of y'all remember that one. It's not quite the tearjerker that Old Yeller is, but it's got a more resonant tear jerkiness, I think, And I remember closing it at the end of that novel. There's an axe head stuck in a tree, and there's a lantern hanging off of that. It's been there for a couple of decades. It's all rusting. I remember holding that book closed and thinking, I can do that. I can stick an axe in a tree and hang a lantern on it and wait 20 years for it to gain some meaning. And from that time on, I knew that I had a sense of how to end things anyways. I didn't know how to get there. I didn't know how to start. I didn't know any of that stuff, but I knew how to end things. And that's one of the main things you need being a writer is how to wrap it up, trying to figure out how to wrap it all up. And after that, man, I was hooked to reading. I lived out with my grandparents a lot growing up, way out in West Texas. And it's always nice when I'm in Oklahoma because y'all speak like I do from West Texas. Everywhere else I am, people are like, "Why are you so weird?" And I'm like, "I'm not weird. I'm just not from here." But I remember my granddad, he must have fallen victim to some door-to-door salesman because in his house was every Reader's Digest and National Geographic from 1957 to 1984. And that's all there was to read. So I read cover to cover every one of those, kind of imprinted on them. And when I ran out of stuff to read, I would go to the Lazy Susan in the kitchen, that little corner cabinet that spins, the 2 layers of it, 2 shelves. And I'd sit before it and I'd spin it and I'd wait for it to slow and stop, and I'd make my hand reach into the same place and grab whatever it was, a can of soup, a box of crackers. I'd pull it out and I'd read every side of that and put it back and spin it again and read what came next because I had to be reading. It makes me feel whole to read, which I think is probably why I'm a writer, because I want to be part of the whole process. And then, let's see, I was 12 years old. Like I say, we lived way out in the nowhere of West Texas. Every 2 weeks on a Wednesday, we would go to town to grocery shop. My mom would load us all into our Suburban, had this big 454 in it, so we had to stop to get gas on the way to town, because it got like 6 miles a gallon. And she would give each of us kids, me and my two brothers, she would give us each 75 cents, which was amazing. And we got to go into the gas station and buy something for ourselves. And every time I'd go buy Dr. Pepper, because we never had Cokes at home, so I would get a Dr. Pepper every 2 weeks, which was a great thrill. But this time, I'm holding my 3/4. I've got my eyes set on that cooler at the back of the store, and I get apprehended right there by the register by this round rack of comic books. I'd never seen a comic book before when I was 12. So I pulled one off that had the cover I liked the best. It happened to be Secret Wars #4. And I was hooked, man. Every Wednesday I was spending my 75 cents on a comic book to finish out that story. I didn't get to read, that was a limited series, 1 through 12. I didn't get to read all of them, but in number 10, the bad guy, or one of the bad guys, Dr. Doom, is fighting this cosmic entity that so outmatches him. And there's a big splash page of Dr. Doom pushing against these cosmic forces, and he's like lost a leg, and he's like 99.9% dead, but he's still reaching. He's still trying to push against that force. And all through my high school, junior high and high school, after that, like all of us, it was tumultuous. All kinds of stuff going on, moving all over the place, all kinds of trouble with all kinds of people. And every time that I thought, this is it, I should quit, I would go back in my head to Dr. Doom being all but 0.01% dead, and I would remember, if he can push through, then I can push through. And so I would do it. I would not give up. And I 100% think that if I did not have that comic book in my head, I never make it through high school. I never make it anywhere, But so I was reading all the time, but where I grew up, there's only 2 paths you can take, for guys anyways. You go to the oil fields or you become a farmer. Hold on. Man, we don't have sweet tea in my Missoula either. That's sweet enough for a pitcher of tea, man. And I wanted to farm. Lots of my family farmed, and so I've been farming my whole life already. I figured I'll just keep doing that after high school. I'll have more time to do it. And but then it looked like I wasn't graduating high school either. And my mom, I finally did end up going to an alternative school and getting my degree. And my mom, when I got my diploma, she took me out to eat, and she gave me 2 things. No, she gave me 3 things, actually. She gave me a suitcase. She said, you got to get out of town because this place is going to kill you. And she gave me a T-shirt with like a painted cow skull on it, which my daughter now wears, which is crazy the T-shirt can last that long. And she gave me this little brass apple, like a golden colored brass apple that I figured she'd bought on a clearance rack somewhere and thought it would be pretty. So she gave it to me. And then she also told me, she said, you've always been reading your whole life. I think you should be where other people are reading. And she said, I've saved up enough money for you to go to 1 semester of college. And the closest college to us was Texas Tech. I was in Midland. Texas Tech is in Lubbock. And I said, so you're sending me to college? I want to go be a farmer. And she said, just try it out for 1 semester. That's all we got money for anyways. And luckily, I had my SATs in my pocket because, I had a score in my pocket. I didn't take the SATs because I had any plans. I took the SATs because there was a girl whom I really wanted to ask out, but and she had like plans for her life, so she was doing all the pre-SAT and SAT stuff, and I knew that her little Subaru had broken, so she didn't have a car, and I had a truck, and so I went first thing, and I signed up. I'm going to go take the SATs, and then I happened to stand beside her somewhere, and I said, hey, I'm taking those too. Why don't you ride with me? And it worked out. We dated for like 6 months, so it was great. But I took them, and so I had that score to go to college, which was wonderful, But at college, I started out being a archaeology major because I wanted to be Indiana Jones. Who wouldn't want to be Indiana Jones? And then the first day of class, my archaeology professor said that the only digging left to do is in drawers in museums, which kind of bummed me out. That's not true either. I think he was kind of having a bad day or something. And so I switched to philosophy. I really liked philosophy a lot, and I still like philosophy. But I was taking my required courses, and I was in a composition. What was it? I was in composition 2, I guess, and also I was taking a World Lit 2, both at the same time. And one Wednesday, I'm in this World Lit course, which is about this. It's probably like twice this size, actually. I'm in the very back row with a spiral notebook and a pen, taking notes on Beowulf or Canterbury Tales or something. And a couple of police officers come in, and it's dark in the auditorium. They take their shades off, and they're looking all around, and I'm sinking lower in my seat because every time the police are in the room, it's always for me. And sure enough, it was for me. And they pull me out, take me to the hall, and instead of volunteering anything that I definitely didn't do, they tell me that they found me because one of my uncles had been burned really, really badly. And the town I was in, Lubbock, had the best burn unit ICU in the region, so they had airlifted him there. And they then delivered me to that burn unit ICU, dropped me off at the door. And so I sat there for 3 days waiting for him to live or die, and I was the only family that could be there. And I had that pen and that spiral notebook with me, and I wrote my first story. I just got so bored, I wrote a story, 8 or 10 pages. And when I came back on Monday to my Composition 2 classroom, I was supposed to have written a personal essay. I had not written that personal essay. So when we were all single filing up to the desk to turn our stuff in, everybody else had their printed out papers. And I pulled my handwritten pages out of my spiral, crimped them at the corner, and turned it in, thinking maybe I'll get like partial credit, and that'll be better than no credit. And it turned out that instructor, she, number one, did not have to read that at all. I think we were supposed to do like printed type stuff. And I didn't have a computer or a typewriter or any of that. And so she read my scrawly handwriting, which was not on assignment, and she liked it enough that she typed it up. And then when it was typed up, she gave it to the creative writing faculty in the English department, who then nominated it for a departmental award. And I won that award. And I got a $50 check, which blew my mind that you could get money for telling lies. I had no idea. That just opened the doors for me. I'm like, ding, ding, ding. And so I stayed a philosophy major, and I just kept writing stories and maybe got another award or two, a couple of little publications. And my very last semester of school, my advisor told me, he said, "Hey man, if you take one more English course, you're a dual major." I said, "Well, it doesn't matter, sure." And so I did it. And then my English and philosophy professors, they said, "Hey man, you should go to grad school." And so my first question was, "What's grad school?" Because nobody in my family had ever gone to any kind of stuff like that. And they explained it's just more school, and I was like a little hesitant because I'd been in school quite a while, I felt like. But they kept bugging me, so I finally, like obligatorily, I put in one application to philosophy school and one application to writing school. And just to make them happy, it wasn't to do anything. I wanted to go back and get a tractor and farm. That's what I wanted to do. But English school got back to me first, and they said, "Hey, we'll pay for your tuition and let you teach some composition courses, and you can come here and it won't cost you anything." And that was a lie. It did cost a whole lot. But but I did it, and then that turned into getting a PhD, which I never planned on getting a PhD. Like, in the microphone, I heard myself being called Dr. Jones, and that still feels like Indiana Jones to me. I did finally get to be Indiana Jones, I guess, which is nice. But doing my PhD, I am at Florida State University, and they have in the fall, they do this thing called Fall Harvest, where they bring down agents and editors from New York City, and back then it was New York City only, and they're there for a week doing panels, seminars, talks, conferences, and at one of the receptions, I am talking with Janet Burroway and Janet Silver. Janet Burroway is my dissertation director. Janet Silver is her high-powered editor at Houghton Mifflin. And Janet Burroway, being my mentor, does that thing mentors do. Once me and Janet and I are talking, she says, "I'm going to let y'all talk. I'm going to go do something." So she leaves me in the headlights of this New York City editor. And I have this out-of-body experience where I hear myself telling her about this novel of mine for like 4 minutes, like unbroken, me talking for 4 minutes, which is a lot for me to do. And I'm making it sound better and better. And then I finally wind it down, and Janet Silver says, man, you should really send it to me. It sounds like exactly the kind of stuff we need to shake the industry up. And she said, can you send it to me on Monday? This is a Friday. And I was like, I need to do one more pass on that book, I think, and then I'll send it to you. And she said, all right, that'll be good enough. And so I went home at 3 o'clock that morning and I started writing that novel, and then that novel was getting published, and I got out with my PhD. Like all the people I came to school with in my doctorate were always hunched over the job ads in the break room and in the faculty lounge, because where am I going to work? Where am I going to be? How am I going to do that? And I never did, because I was when I was doing my doctorate, I was pulling carts at Sam's. I was never going to be a teacher, and so when I graduated with my diploma, actually, when you graduate in 1998 with a PhD from Florida State, I was the first tribal member in 33 years to get a degree like that. And evidently I checked some box wrong, because they thought I was going to be at the ceremony, the graduation ceremony. And so they had lots of dignitaries from the Seminole people, and they had a big place in the program for me to come up on stage. And I don't know what happened, but there was a lot of quietness, I suspect, because I was not there. I was kind of a screw up on my part. And I was working at Sears, and all I'd ever been good for in my life was manual labor. That's the main thing I did. That was always my fallback, manual labor. I figured I'd do that my whole life, and I was happy to. But working at Sears, like, we wore those safety belts that have suspenders on them, and we all discovered immediately that it was so much cooler to leave that Velcro open instead of closed like it's supposed to be. And so sure enough, throwing refrigerators and microwaves and air conditioners, I hurt my back pretty bad, and my own fault. And then it took me about 2 weeks till I could sit up in bed. And when I finally sat up, my wife brought me the thrifty nickel so we could go through and find me a desk job, because I need to work at something where I didn't have to lift anymore because of my back. And the main job we kept finding was bookkeeper. There's a lot of people who needed books kept. And I called about some of those, and I finally got a call back, kind of a phone interview. And I came to the realization, my wife and I both did, that bookkeeping is not organizing people's bookshelves, because I would be good at that. I like getting things in alphabetical order, and it has to do with math and numbers. I don't know. So I was not qualified to be a bookkeeper, but way at the bottom of all the things we'd circled was this little bitty posting that said, wanted full-time with benefits, must be able to pass spelling tests. And that lit my brain up, because I've always been a lucky speller for some reason. I don't know why that is. So I went to interview for this job. I sat down in the basement across from a woman in a study carrel, and she read me 100 words. And I spelled them all down. She took it away and scored it, and she came back and said, you spelled 100 words correctly. You got the job. And I had a full-time job with benefits, which was so important, because I had my son was on the way. He was going to be born within months, so that I needed that insurance really badly. And so it turned out to be at a library. I got to be a book cataloger at a library for, maybe 2 years. And that was probably the best job I've ever had. Every day there would be new books on my book cart, and I would get to process them. And that, maybe when I die and go to some happy place, it'll be back to that place where there's new books by my desk every day. It was amazing and beautiful. And because I had that first novel, which had been my dissertation coming out, I was... The faculty in English knew I was over there, and they had a position open up, and they came over and they said, you should apply. And I said, no, I'm pretty happy here. And they said, they like my professors who got me to go to grad school, these faculty bugged me enough where I was like, okay, I'll apply for that job. I don't want it, but if y'all make y'all happy, I'll apply for it. I applied for it. I made it to the last 3, and I got the job, which blew me away. And I couldn't say no because it paid better, because I don't have my MLS, so I couldn't actually go high in the library. And I could do better as a faculty member on the English department. So I signed on to that and went one building over at Texas Tech University, where I got my undergraduate degree, to teach English. And I walked into class that first day, and I realized that I don't have any idea how to teach. I think maybe that's how everybody feels. I don't know. And so I had to fake it for so long. And by faking it, I mean, my very first semester teaching, I kept talking about the classes I taught last semester, which I was completely making up, and but it got me through, and I've been doing it a long time now. And about 5 or 6 years ago, I was digging through some old boxes. We're always moving houses, and I found this old box I've been carrying around since high school. I don't know how it survived. And way down in the corner of it is that little brass apple my mom gave me when I graduated high school, sort of. And I thought, that's kind of neat that survived all these years. And so I put it up on my desk, and then between paragraphs or emails or something, one day I'm playing with it, and I turn it over, and it's got this little gold leaf hanging on it on a string on the stem of the apple. And that little gold leaf said teacher, and somehow my mom knew all that time that I was going to be a teacher. So moms are pretty great. That's really what I'm saying here. And I think that's my 20 minutes. I'll give the mic to somebody else. Thank y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. Again, there's going to be a book signing, and we're just so honored, Dr. Jones, that you made it safe and sound, and you joined a distinguished list of authors, writers, playwrights. Thank you to Maddie and the committee for selecting this year's honorees. And again, one more round of applause, please.